Welcome back to the deep dive. You know how we do it. We take a huge stack of sources. Today, it's a really powerful set of spiritual guidance materials, and we pull out the absolute core for you.
The goal is for you, the learner, to get fundamentally well-informed and to get there fast.
And today, we are tackling something, it's universal, the crushing weight of worry and anxiety.
That's right. We've been deep in this guidance that's specifically designed to give you assurance during what the sources call life storms.
Life storms, I like that.
And the core proposition we found is pretty striking. It claims that true peace isn't just, a psychological trick or some stress management technique. It's framed as a divine breakthrough.
A breakthrough. What makes that framing so different? We all look for peace through, like, mindfulness or therapy. Is the source claiming there's a totally different mechanism at play?
That is the key distinction, yeah. The guidance says this truth has the power to shatter every chain of anxiety.
Shatter them?
Shatter them. And replace worry with the unshakable peace that only God can give. The argument is basically that if you're only relying on your own resources, your peace is always going to be vulnerable.
Right, to whatever life throws at you.
Exactly. This peace is rooted in something external, something stable. It offers a radical replacement of fear with faith.
Okay, so let's really unpack this. If you're out there and you're struggling with this relentless fear, you need practical instructions, not just, lofty ideas. So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the concrete steps, the specific language, and the core promises this guidance offers to step out of the shadows of doubt and into divine calmness.
If you're looking for that roadmap to turn trials into testimonies, we've got the coordinates.
Let's start with the basics. How do these sources even define this peace? Because it sounds like it's something more than just feeling calm.
It is. It's presented as far exceeding ordinary human capability. The first thing is that it's described as explicitly supernatural. Yeah. It's a life-altering encounter.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's a profound internal change, but it's facilitated by an external power.
And that idea of a supernatural peace, that leads right to its resilience, right? Its staying power.
That's the next attribute. It's described as unshakable.
Unshakable.
Meaning no circumstance, no matter how daunting, will be able to steal it away, which is a huge claim.
That is a huge claim. Think about how quickly a health scare or a financial problem can just totally destabilize even the calmest person.
Precisely. And they go further. It's a peace so deep and so profound, it will silence every storm raging inside.
So the external chaos doesn't dictate your internal state.
That's the whole implication. As long as you anchor yourself correctly, it's about creating this internal fortress where the outside pressure just can't get in.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. The source material doesn't just treat anxiety as like a bad feeling. It frames it as a kind of spiritual enslavement, a captivity. We saw phrases about the mind no longer shackled by relentless fears and needing the chains of anxiety broken. Why is that metaphor of bondage so important?
Because when you use a word like shackled, it reframes anxiety from, a benign habit you just need to manage,
right,
to an active state that is aggressively robbing you of freedom, of joy, of agency. It forces you to take an aggressive stance, not a passive one. You have to fight for your mental liberty.
And that fight needs a powerful counterforce, which the sources get into with these really rich metaphors for God's role.
They're very consistent.
He's called the refuge, the fortress, the unmovable rock.
And I think the key word in all of those is stability. When your world is shaking, you need an anchor that isn't also shaking. The source offers the very definition of stability.
It also defines this provider as the creator who never sleeps, never tires, and never abandons his children. That seems really critical for dealing with the root of anxiety, which is often that feeling of hypervigilance.
Oh, absolutely.
That core worry that if I stop managing everything, it'll all fall apart.
Right. And by defining this external force as tireless, the source gives you practical permission to rest, to step back from that hypervigilance, knowing that the structure is being held up.
Which brings us to the core mechanism, right? What the individual has to do.
Yes. Surrender and choice. Achieving this peace is not passive at all. It's an intentional, active decision.
So how do you actually do that? What does it mean to lay down your burdens? Do they get specific?
They do. The surrender is a transaction. Cast it all upon you because you care. It means identifying the specific weight you're carrying, guilt, fear about the future, whatever it is, and consciously moving it from your responsibility column to the divines.
You have to empty your hands.
You empty your hands of the burden so they can be filled with something else. Yes.
And that's where choice comes in, that active refusal. The sources talk about refusing to be enslaved by fear or anxiety.
Mm-hmm. You have to choose faith, choose trust, choose to lean on your promises. It's an intentional redirection of your mental energy.
And it has a time component too, right? There's a specific rejection of worrying about the future.
A very specific one. The guidance quotes a divine instruction. You told us not to worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself.
That is a profound mental discipline. It's forcing yourself to operate only in the present, to deal with the strength you have for today and not, borrow trouble from a future that might not even happen.
Exactly. It's an intentional containment. If you spend today worrying about next week's problems, you've basically burdened yourself twice. The source says that's totally unnecessary.
But if it's just mental discipline, why does the source use such strong language? I mean, it suggests this is more than just managing your thoughts. They call it spiritual warfare.
They use that terminology because anxiety is defined as more than just like a chemical imbalance. It's framed as an assault designed to destabilize you.
So your response has to be just as aggressive.
It has to be.
Okay, spiritual warfare is intense. For someone listening who doesn't maybe use that language, how do we translate binding every anxious thought into a practical cognitive strategy?
It's radical mental discipline. That's a good way to put it. The guidance literally prays against the spirit of worry and anxiety and asks to bind every anxious thought and cast it out.
So it's not about politely ignoring the thought.
Not at all. It's about identifying it as a lie and aggressively throwing it out before it can take root. The instruction is to reject the lies that tell me I am alone or that my worries define my reality.
So the action is twofold. First, surrender the burden. Second, actively fight the cognitive lies that try to sneak back in. That sounds exhausting.
It would be, unless you had something solid to stand on. And that's why the source material provides these very specific biblical anchors. They aren't just inspirational quotes. They're treated like legal guarantees.
Okay, let's dive into those two major anchors because they seem to serve distinct purposes in this fight.
The first one is from Isaiah 41:10. And the listener is told to claim this promise now over my life. It's a comprehensive promise. It covers strength, presence, support, everything.
And that promise reads, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand."
The power in that promise is the repetition, the layers of assurance. It hits the three core fears of anxiety. Isolation, I am with you.
Right.
Inadequacy, I will strengthen and help you. And eventual collapse, I will uphold you.
So you use that text like a shield against that immediate feeling of being overwhelmed and alone.
Exactly. It's an assurance that even when you're weak, you are supported by an external, powerful force.
So that addresses the foundation. The second big anchor is from Philippians 4.7, which is often called the guardrail for the mind.
Yes. This promise is that the peace, which surpasses all understanding, will guard my heart and my mind in Christ Jesus. So if Isaiah deals with the fear of isolation, Philippians deals with the fear of mental destabilization.
Let's focus on that word guarded. That implies a defensive perimeter. What is this piece actually preventing?
It acts like a fortress that prevents the enemy's lies from taking root. Think of it like a cognitive firewall.
A firewall.
Yeah. When that anxious thought tries to get in, this piece, which crucially surpasses all human understanding, it activates as a defense mechanism. It stops that cycle of catastrophic thinking before it can gain any momentum.
So the piece itself becomes the mechanism of protection. It's not just the result of a stable mind. It actively creates that stability.
Precisely. And if you zoom out from the immediate battle, the ultimate assurance about the future is linked to divine purpose. The command is to remember that God's plans are good plans to prosper me and not to harm me, plans to give me hope in a future.
And that promise is invoked even when things seem impossible, which is, usually when anxiety is at its worst.
It's the bedrock. It's the guaranteed long-term outlook that validates the current action of surrender. Why fight when you know the outcome is already designed for your benefit? That's the logic.
So if we translate all this into daily life, what does it mean? The guidance suggests this piece goes way beyond just, feeling calm yourself.
This is where suffering gets reframed. Trials are not seen as punishments. They're essential steps because they produce perseverance character, and character hope.
So the peace isn't a result of avoiding the trial.
No, it's a byproduct of enduring the trial with active trust. It makes the suffering meaningful. Instead of asking, why me? The framework pushes you to ask, what is this struggle developing in me?
And this internal transformation is supposed to have a ripple effect. The source encourages you to become a beacon for other people.
Right. The peace should overflow into the lives of those around me. Your personal peace becomes a tool for the community.
So the goal is to be a source of calm and encouragement, a beacon of light.
Exactly. When you are anchored, your stability helps stabilize others who are struggling. It moves the whole focus from self-preservation to influence.
But this isn't a one-time thing. You don't just acquire peace and then you're done.
Absolutely not. To maintain this state, the guidance gives very clear daily action items. It's all about persistence.
Okay, let's detail those. If the battle is daily, what are the daily weapons?
First, to pray without ceasing, or continually. It implies a running conversation, not just a scheduled meeting. It keeps the lines open.
What about your internal posture?
Second, cultivate a heart of gratitude, even in the midst of trials. Gratitude actively shifts your focus from what you're afraid of to what's already been provided. It's a proactive correction of your perspective.
Wow. Gratitude in a trial is basically the polar opposite of anxiety and comfort.
It is. Third, you have to consciously choose to fix your thoughts on God's goodness and mercy. It's replacing the lie with an established truth.
And finally,
They reiterate the need for comprehensive surrender. Not just the big stuff, but the specific, heavy fears: health, finances, relationships, and every unknown.
so the act of yielding control is a continuous daily requirement.
You have to keep feeding that surrender mechanism every single time a new unknown pops up.
Yeah. So if you've been following along, we've moved from recognizing the chains of anxiety to understanding this mechanism of active surrender and choosing faith. And it's all anchored by these specific ancient promises like Isaiah 41 there and Philippians 4.7.
It's a journey from captivity to continuous contribution. But the key takeaway is persistence. The sources say to be persistent in prayer and to come boldly before your throne of grace, confident that I will receive mercy and find grace.
So it's found in the active, consistent pursuit, not in a single moment.
Right.
As we wrap up, one thing that really stood out to me was this paradox we've been talking about. The tension between surrender, letting go of control, and active declaration where you're aggressively fighting. If I'm supposed to be completely surrendering control, how can I also be declaring that worry will no longer control me? Isn't that declaration, well, isn't that just me trying to exert control again?
That's a great question. The source resolves it by suggesting you're not exerting your control. You're declaring the divine's victory over the fear. The surrender is letting go of the burden of managing the problem yourself. The declaration is asserting your partnership with the power that promises to fix it.
So it's shifting from I will control to I will trust.
Exactly.
Fascinating. So the final provocative question for you to think about on your own is this. If persistent prayer is the source of strength and declaration is asserting a new reality, how does actively speaking the words, worry will no longer control me, transform your immediate emotional state? How does it reshape the way you approach the next unknown challenge? That simple declaration just might be the final key to unlocking the unshakable peace we've talked about today.